Hi, it's Darren with SimNation again. Just wanted to do a quick video to talk about the second round. For those of you who will, we are in the second round of our draft for the new season. And just want to quickly recap who was drafted and then talk about a couple players to look at. This should hopefully be a quick video. If you're interested in joining us, we still have a lot of good teams available. Just drop me a note either here at YouTube or look us up on Slack. I'll put the links in the video. With that in mind, I'm just going to move straight in and give you some of my thoughts. Day two of the draft. I think that there were some definite winners in this round, and there were some mehs in this round, and then some people are going to probably be good over time. So as you can see, the salary's starting to drop. You're going to start seeing more value here. But there were definitely some people that stood out to me as definite wins, and some people who were kind of meh. I would generally say the people who chose tight ends in this round, I don't think you got great value out of them. One of them actually is pretty decent. I think in time he'll be pretty good, but if you're looking for him to start day one, probably not. For me, we'll get started right away. New York Giants have a lot of holes to fill, and it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the draft goes for them. So this is Cable. He's done a really good job. I like this pick. Charles Ramsay to me is a good starting center. 96 strength, 89 pass blocking, 73 run blocking. He's got good movement. He knows his position well. I think that this was a good day two pick, and at $2.4 million, you're getting a pretty good center who you can probably start right off the bat. Malcolm Smith, I'll say, is not a bad defensive tackle. I think he's actually going to be pretty decent. I believe he's a nose tackle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he is. So strength isn't as great as I'd like to see as for a nose tackle, but he's got agility and he's got good speed. His tackling could be better, but it's pretty decent. I mean, if Kev, who's the coach of Baltimore, wants to, this is a good place to start with a 3-4, and you have a pretty good nose tackle at 6'4", 309. He's going to eat up a lot of space, and of course he's out of Clemson, so it's a good pick. At pick 3, this was a CPU. I'm not in love with this pick. He's not horrible, but he's not great either. The strength and agility for a linebacker is not what I would like to see, but I think you could put him in the middle and he'd be just fine. The 90 tackling is really good. 76 speed isn't horrible. Again, I think he's a middle linebacker. But I think one of the challenges is there's a lot of speed in the AFC North that you're going to have to account for, and I don't know that Jim Major will make it on the field right away. The Houston Texans are a human coach team. So if I remember correctly, this is JP, who's one of our newer coaches. Not a great day one linebacker pick. I don't really like his personality, but I think at 72 speed, 85 tackling, again, this is a guy that you can either move to defensive end, or this is a guy that you can put in the middle and he'll probably do pretty well. 75 strength is going to help him really wrap people up. He's got good tackling. He's definitely not someone I'd put out on the edges, but if you moved him to defensive end, I think he's actually going to be pretty serviceable. Um, Charles Browning, this is Rick, and I will tell you that I do like this pick quite a bit. He's fast, he's agile, he's got good intelligence, he's a really good tackler. This is just overall a really good pick in my eyes. So Rick did a great job with picking this guy. He was one of the guys I was probably the highest on. I kind of hoped he would drop, but I didn't expect him to, given the videos I've been making. I don't. It's going to take me to the wrong screen, so let me bounce back out. I don't really like this next pick very much. This is Udo. I will say that if you move this person, I think that they turn out fine. Lloyd Hodgson wasn't someone I was high on. His 69 speed is right about where I thought it was. He's a good tackler and he's got good agility, but he's not going to be really playing strong safety all that much. You might want to think about moving him somewhere else, but maybe if you have specific plays where you want someone in the box who can tackle and really get there, or you're playing some form of zone and not asking him to cover a speedy wide receiver, I think that that will work. But this is one of those meh picks for me in this round. Michael MAGEE, Kev got himself a really good strong safety, especially in the AFC North, where there's a lot of speed at wide receiver and at tight end. This guy should be able to cover. He's going to struggle a little bit with tackling, and he's not going to be a ball hawk, but this is a good solid pick, especially given the speed in the AFC North. His personality could be better, but I like the pick. It's interesting to me if I go back that this is not a Gary type player. And Gary, of course, is coach at Miami, who normally has really solid individuals. Uh, a lot of people don't. Some people may not like this pick. I like this pick. I'm high on Alexander Armstrong. His strength of 100 mean he's just going to be chucking people, especially defensive tackles. Um, I think this is a guy who's going to grow, and as he grows into the position 10 seasons from now, we're going to be talking about how great he is. So this is a really good pick from Bio Eagle. I like it. Arizona is CPU. I like this pick. I'm high on McDowell again. He's a fast free safety, good agility, good hands. Definitely going to be able to cover wide receivers. This was a solid pick. He's one of those guys I kept hoping would drop, but I kind of knew he wouldn't. CPU again in Tampa Bay. It's a good solid pick. Good strength. His speed's a little bit less than what I'd like to see in a tackle, but there's nothing glaringly bad about this pick, especially at just under $2 million a year. Um, Tyler Hilton, I will say, is a little bit of a disappointment to me. I thought he was much better than this, but you got to take that with a grain of salt. And really, what I'm saying is, I don't like his speed, and I don't like his agility and his brains, but he is strong, and I think that matters. And he's a really good run blocker. So for Atlanta, again, you're talking a center. He's as long as they're not pulling him and stuff like that, he's going to be a really serviceable pick for them and can probably start day one. Um, I don't like this pick from Buffalo. I wasn't high on Tony Etheridge. His hands are pretty good, but his speed is not. He's a decent run blocker too, so I would almost say that at 6'5", 240, I would almost maybe think about moving him to fullback. Or again, he may just be one of those guys who you just simply say is going to do run blocking for you, although his strength isn't all that much to write home about. Uh, wasn't one of my favorite picks of this round. Next one, New Orleans. This CPU again. You have Alex Taft on the board still. You have Johnny. Can't remember his name right now. Uh, Johnny Watson still on the board. You have Kevin Batiste still on the board. You have a lot of different options at running back. This probably shouldn't have been this pick. He's not horrible. I think he's going to have a good career. But I think that New Orleans definitely, again, this is CPU, could have picked someone much better than James Bauman. But again, the agility is really good. The strength is good. The speed's not quite there. Um, but he'll probably have a good career. It's just they could have maybe landed one of the better running backs. The Green Bay pick, Green Bay's a passing team. I'm not in love with this pick. Again, it's the CPU, so I can say that easily. His strength is good. He's got good intelligence, but again, they throw the ball a lot, so I'm not quite sure where the run blocking is going to help them. But he's a center, so maybe they're going to run the ball more. We'll see how that works. But again, at 1.8, it's not a horrible pick. It's just his pass blocking is pretty awful. Carolina, this is one of our newer coaches as well, and if I remember correctly, this is a visible witness. Great pick. I like this pick. I've been high on Trent Anderson for a while. Speed-wise, he's right where I thought he was. He's got good tackling. His agility could be better, but This is a guy who's you're gonna be able to put him in coverage, and he's gonna do a pretty good job at that. So this is a really good pick in my eyes. Um, Seattle, this is CPU again. This is a good pick. I'm actually mad at this one because I was hoping he would drop because I was gonna try to grab him. But the strength isn't great. Intelligence is good. He's a great overall run blocker. He's got good speed, got good agility, and he knows his area, his position well. So just a really solid pick, Hill. I like it. This is Starfinder, if I remember correctly, and Virgil's a bull rusher. I didn't talk a whole lot about him because I was actually hoping he would drop to where Pittsburgh was drafting. He was one of the people on my list. Good strength, good speed, tackles well, good endurance. This is a solid pick. So he should help rebuild that line. So good job, Starfinder, in drafting him. Uh, Another good solid pick, Hill from Shark. Speed isn't like elite, but he's quite capable of getting into the backfield. He's got good intelligence. He's got good strength. This is a guy who's going to get some sacks, especially in Shark's system. So this is another good pick from Shark. Shark's having a pretty good draft. I really like Don's pick, Hill, of John Haley. Phenomenal strength. Speed ain't great, but he's going to be chucking people out of his way, especially interior linemen who are maybe not as strong, and he's going to wrap people up. So this is one of my favorite picks of this round. I really like this pick. Again, guy I'd hope to drop. Prince made some really good picks. Richard Morgan, you can't laugh at 96 speed, especially in the AFC West. He's got decent hands. What I worry about is he's a 6'4", 208-pound wide receiver with 12 strength and 29 endurance. I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But again, if nobody hits him on the way up the field or for that one play he's in, he's probably going to score. So it's a good game-changing wide receiver for Prince, and he's already got some speed if I remember correctly. So I don't hate this pick. It's just this pick needs some work, especially in the endurance, because you're gonna have a hard time keeping him on the field. Uh, Tennessee's another CPU team. I like this pick. Roger McKnight is someone I was high on as a guard. Good strength, good pass blocking. Overall, just a solid pick. So Tennessee got yet another good person to help with that rebuilding. Um, I'm just gonna say this. Cody Mackey's probably not the guy I would have wanted to see go. I think he may have been uh, Stewart's other people must have been drafted. But he's not a bad quarterback. I think he's actually going to play much better than a 61 accuracy based on what I saw in college. He's got a decent arm. He's got good intelligence, but I can't help but thinking that if Stewart had a choice between Cody Mackey and Jimmy Milligan, he probably would have taken Jimmy Milligan. So there's probably a story here. It's not a horrible pick, but just knowing what he probably would have preferred, I think that this isn't the guy he really wanted to land at this position in the second round. Kansas City's on CPU. This is a good solid pick. DOMINIQUE Haynes will be able to hang with the tight ends and the slot wide receivers in the AFC West. He's got good agility. He's really kind of a zone corner, so this is a good pick as well. I like this pick a lot. I know Rick had some issues in the first round. This is Rick Sullivan, but this is a good pick. Everyone knows I'm high on Alex Taft. I actually had hoped that he would drop. He was in my top 5 on my list. He's just a really good scat back. So very, very fast, very agile. He's going to have a little bit of an issue with bowling people over and holding on to the ball, but he's a good change of pace back, especially for Minnesota. Atlanta, this is another one of their picks. Don't like this one very much, but he's definitely going to be serviceable in the middle. 77 speed, 79 tackling, 75 strength. This is a middle linebacker to me. So also somebody who at 6'4", 239 pounds, you might be able to move him to defensive end and let him grow over time. Especially given that his linebacker skills only 48. So that's another option. Now that's probably not going to happen because this is a CPU team and CPU doesn't tend to do that. This is again another one of our new coaches. It's a solid pick, especially for defensive tackle. 64 speed and 64 intelligence. It's a good solid pick, especially in a division like the AFC West where you need to have people who are semi-fast to deal with people like Peter and Prince. Keith Covey, be honest with you, I didn't think highly of Louisiana Monroe's Keith Covey, but he seems decent. I don't like the speed, but I do like the strength, and I do like the tackling. I think that Templar found him a good steel heel. This guy's definitely going to plug that middle, and should have a pretty good career down in Dallas. I really like this next pick from Prince. I'm very high on Robert James. I thought he was one of the best technique tackles in the draft, and it looks like he is. So this is just an all-round solid pick for me for Prince. I think he did a great job here, so good pick. Robert James is definitely one of my favorite people in the draft, and I'm happy to see that he turned out to be as good as I thought he was. Uh, Nothing wrong with this pick either. Again, you got the LA Rams who picked Jimmy Ernest. He's a good speed in tackling. You can put this guy in the box, and I think he's going to really be able to lay some people out, and then he can drop back into coverage and cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. So that's a solid pick. Um, Not my first choice, not my second choice, probably like my sixth choice. But at Pittsburgh, I don't have any complaints. I like Michael Perry. He's fast. It's kind of what I want from my defensive ends. He's got decent strength. He can wrap people up. He'll definitely be able to potentially start this year on the opposite side of Hickson. So, not a great pick, but it's not a bad pick. I like it. Um, Thomas Stewart, this is Pops. He's overall he's a solid tight end. He's not the type of tight end I like, but I do think that over time he's going to grow into his position. And I think with 74 strength, 71 agility, 70 speed, and his run blocking skills, especially in the right system with short passing, I think he's going to be a pretty good tight end. And again, another one of those Louisiana Monroe guys. I really like this pick. I hate that Peter keeps making good picks, but this is a really solid pick. I'm pretty high on Richard Rafferty in general. He's a little bit slower than I thought, but his hands are much better than I thought they were. So it's a great pick for Peter. He's only getting better, which should make all of us feel a little skilled, but great pick, Peter. Uh, so what I want to do now is kind of talk a little bit about some of the people I haven't talked about. Um, uh, Let me go here and just go quickly by position. So I think depending on what you're looking for here, a couple names that stand out to me that you might want to look at is if you're looking for a just uh, kind of dual threat. I don't think that there really is one around. Steve Muller out of Oklahoma is probably that guy. If you're looking for an accuracy type quarterback, I would probably say that Bradford Castellano is probably the dude that I would take a look at. Stephen Herron is another guy I might look at. Um, and of course, the guy I think that I'm highest on right now, other than Jimmy Milligan, is Rex Stafford out of Nevada. I think he has good speed. His arm is serviceable. I think he's got good accuracy. He's intelligent. He played that way at Nevada. So um, if you're really looking for someone I haven't talked about, I would take a look at him. And his stats weren't bad. When we talk about running backs, there are a lot of good running backs still on the board. And I'm actually kind of shocked at some of the running backs that still are out there. I did expect some of these to be gone, and I think you're going to still find some running backs with 90 speed. I'm just going to say again, I've said this a couple of times. Frankie said it as well. I don't think you're going to find any running back faster than Tyson DeVito out of Louisiana Monroe. The only problem I have with Tyson is I don't think he has any form of agility, and I think his hands are suspect. But I think the speed he has is going to be something that you don't want to look twice on. No pun intended. I think if you're looking for a strong running back, names that pop out to me is John Kong. I love his size. This is a dude that I think will just bowl people over. I think he's kind of like a Christian Okoye in my mind. Blast from the past. Another guy maybe to look at is Giovanni Sue out of, I think it's Louisiana Tech. Yeah, it's Louisiana Tech. So I think that, yeah, it's Louisiana Tech. So uh, best overall at this point, wow. I think I would look at Johnny Watson out of Michigan State. I think he's somebody I'm pretty high on. I've thought about different points. Of course, Kevin Batiste is still on the board, I think. He's the running back out of Maryland. A little bit shocked that he is where he is, but he's someone I would look at. From a fullback perspective, I don't know that there's a lot of great value here. I think, again, and I've said this a couple of times, it starts and stops with really one player. I think you probably could find someone like an Eddie McFadden out of Louisiana and Lafayette who's going to be more of a traditional type of fullback. I think if you're looking for a newer age fullback out of the backfield, Chester Spill out of Boise State is who you should be looking at, or Anthony Shepard out of Maryland. I think those are really the fullbacks I would look at in the third round. From a guard perspective, I've talked about a lot of these guys already, so this one's going to be a little bit hard. To me, I still am really high on, where is he? Let's see here. Donald Cone, I think, is the guy I'm pretty high on. I think overall he's just a solid dude. Not dude. He's a solid guard. Another name I would look at, although I worry about his strength, and I'll just be straight up about that, is Ruben McSwain. He had really bad strength in college. I don't think it's gotten any better. So if you're looking for someone who's a really good blocker but pretty weak, I think Ruben McSwain is a guy. James Ziegler, I think, is another guy I'm pretty high on. Jason Ziegler. Sometimes I get these names really wrong. And then, what's that dude's name? Is it him? Yeah, it's him. Johnny Frick is another guy I would take a look at. I like Johnny Frick. I think that he's someone that is good to take a look at. Tackle, I think there's still a lot of value here at tackle. I think you just have to find the right person. I don't think you're going to find someone as balanced as some of the tackles who have been taken already, but I do think that you'll find people who are either really good run block or really good pass block, or I think the guys who are kind of capable of doing both. I think that Stephen Branch is someone I remember being pretty decent in college on both sides of the field. Daniel Naquin, I think I mentioned him before, is another guy I would take a look at. I like Paul Walker, but I think he falls more in the category of he's good at one but not both. And then I think if you're willing, yeah, Walker's more of a development type person for me, if I remember correctly. James Duran out of Nebraska is another guy that I like as well. So these are guys I would see going in the third round, and I think you get good value out of them. At center, the pool is really, really thin at this point. I don't know that you're going to find great value at center. I think all the great value has already left. I think what you're going to find is people who are more development. But if you're really looking to try to get someone who may be able to start day one, take a look at Brian Rodriguez from Old Dominion. I remember from scouting, I was pretty high on him, as well as Alan Bobo from Virginia Tech. Tight end wise, again, I I'm a little shocked to see Sam King and Nick Bowden still on the board. I've mentioned their name multiple times, as well as Billy Craig. Really, if you're looking for a guy who can catch, you're probably not going to get better than these two. Sam King and Nick Bowden both have really productive college careers. Maryland, he was a converted wide receiver, so I can talk about him because I was his coach. Converted wide receiver, very fast. I don't know what the randomizer was done to him, uh, but I think that you're going to find someone who has decent hands. I don't know what his speed's going to be like, though. And I think it's the same thing with Sam King. He had a pretty productive college career. Wide receiver, the pool's getting a little thin here too, but I think you're going to still be able to find some really good wide receivers here. Maybe nobody with elite speed. But I would tell you that I think that if I were to look at this and I was looking for someone who maybe not had great hands but had decent hands, I might look at Brain Morel, partner Narva. I have never said his name right. Narvaez, um, Les Jackson, and David DeMarco. Those would be the more speedy type guys. Timothy Reddy, someone who I think is a great possession wide receiver. And then there's one or two guys who you probably could convert to tight end, like Ricardo Patton, because their size would support it. On the line, oh, wow, there were a lot of good people who came off the board this round. And I don't know that I have any of my favorites left. Tucker Hunnell out of Boise State is a guy I would look at. Um, I think that he's going to be decent speed wise, but I don't know what he's going to be like tackling wise. Um, Another guy I'm pretty high on that I mentioned in a different video was Ahmad Alexander out of Hawaii. I think he's good as well. As we start to talk about like defensive tackle, again, I think this is where you're going to find less value here than you did before, because I think the really good people at defensive tackle have come off the board. But if you're looking for strength, Anthony Brewster out of Cincinnati. Where are you? Anthony Brewster. Is he already gone too? It's maybe a video where you just watch me look for a dude. Okay, apparently he's gone. So unless I'm looking at the wrong position. Am I looking at the wrong position? Sorry, yeah, I am. It's Anthony Brewster is probably a good defensive end. I don't believe I did that. Gotta fix my notes real quick. So people know, I have notes that I kept on from my scouting and what I saw on SNCFL, and that's what I'm referring to. Alfred Yates, I think, is a guy you should take a look at. I think he's strong. I don't think he's going to be fast, but I do think that he's got really, really good strength. Another guy I would look at, it helps if I actually check, Alfred Yates. Scott Wu out of Arizona State is another guy I'm pretty high on as a defensive tackle, who's got the right type of strength to be able to move people around. I don't think you're gonna. John Patton out of Marshall is another guy I'm pretty high on. So I was looking to draft someone in the third round, I'd probably look at Alfred Yates, John Patton, and Scott Wu. It may look like you're reaching for Wu, but I don't think you really are. Linebacker is going to be hard because, again, the really good linebackers are off the board. I think depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for a faster linebacker, we've mentioned him a couple times now, Sean Cunningham. I don't think you're going to find much faster than him. But if you're looking for kind of that more all-around good linebacker, I think Oscar Edgar out of Iowa and what is that dude's name? Claude Strange out of Vanderbilt are two guys I would take a look at because I think that they're very, very serviceable. A guy who's kind of raw, but he had a good coach was the dude from Georgia. is Humberto Stegall. Is another guy I would take a look at. I think that he's good overall. Free safety, there's still value here. It's just going to be a little bit harder to find because the pool has gotten very small when it comes to free safety because a lot came off the board this round. I don't think you're going to find any great speedsters in here, but two guys I like just to kind of take a look at is, are they both from Vanderbilt? No, Demetrius Bryan from Vanderbilt. And oh, Delbert Esposito from Marshall is another guy I'm pretty high on. There's a guy in here, William Cronin, I think is decent, but I wouldn't go out of my way to take a chance on him. But Kurt Daly is a guy, I think he's out of Texas Tech. Yeah, he is. This guy's interesting to me. He in college was decently fast, but highly agile and a good tackler. I wouldn't take a run at him until the later rounds, but someone to keep in the back of your mind. Delbert Esposito, I think, is a fairly safe pick. He had a pretty good career at Marshall, and Demetrius Bryan had a pretty good career at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's having a really good draft. I'm actually shocked. I don't remember them being that good. I'm going to have to go back and look at that again. The last position is strong safety. I'm going to struggle a little bit with kind of recommendations here. I've talked about Nicholas Wolf until I think I'm blue in the face. I probably could talk to him until I'm really blue in the face. But a guy that you probably want to keep tabs on, in my perspective, would be Leslie Hagel out of Massachusetts. Sorry, it's been a long day. Leslie Hagel is, I think he's got an interesting speed set. He was fast at Massachusetts. I don't think, even if he got nerfed, I don't think he's going to be slow. The only thing I think I worried about him is he can't tackle. I mean, he had a really bad tackling thing in the SNCFL, but he was pretty fast. His agility was good. He was pretty weak, though, from what I remember. The other guy to kind of just keep some tabs on, other than Nicholas Wolf, is he's from Ohio. There he is, William Kennan. I like his size, and I think that he's got decent speed. So, 6'4", 219, strong safety is someone you definitely want to kind of take a look at. I'm not going to talk about kickers and punters. There's no point in that. So, there's still good value for the third round. I think the best value that's left, to be honest with you, is going to be in the wide receiver, the offensive line, defensive line, and strong safety. A couple shocks to me that are still around is David Leslie's kind of a shock. I think his size is killing him. But if you want to take a gamble on someone, you might want to look at him. Eric Whitaker is another guy out of Florida State that you might really want to take a look at. Nicholas Wolf is a shock to me. I expected him to be gone. The two wide receivers out of Hawaii, they don't shock me that they're still there, but I do think that you should take a look at them. And then the only other big shock to me are the two tight ends, right? Which would be Bowden and King. I'm kind of shocked that they're still out there. But again, a lot of people have tight ends, so that kind of makes sense. But you might want to look at them in this round. I think it's not as much of a stretch as the first two rounds, but I would just take a look at them. So lots of great value still. Third round runs tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And we will definitely see who comes off the board then and see if I'm kind of on with any of these picks. I generally have not done horrible, but I haven't done great either. So some of the picks I thought that were really good turned out to be kind of meh. Some of the picks that I thought were really good were really good. But I do like what some of the teams are doing. I like how Prince drafted. I like what Kev's doing at Baltimore, although I'm probably not going to like that when the regular season rolls around. But if you're interested in teams like Cincinnati, Arizona, Tennessee, LA Rams, New Orleans, all those teams are still open. So, and we always would invite new coaches. So hopefully this helps, but it's been a good second round, and we'll see what happens in the third. Thank you for your time tonight.